Good evening and welcome to Footy Corner. I'm Sparks. Welcome in. If you're just coming in, please make sure you're hitting the like and the subscribe. Any comments, put in the chat. We'll try and get on to it. We try to answer all chats as well if they're reasonable, at least. You know, any kind of swear ones, not so much. But there we go. We've got Arsenal domination. Dom, how are we, mate?
Very well, thank you. Very, very well. Good weekend and a bank holiday Monday with the sun out. Who would have ever thought it?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't need to go outside to get entertainment either. Literally everything online has not failed to do today, is it?
No.
Yes, it's been a rattle fest. Yes,
it's been a good day watching Tottenham fans have another meltdown.
It's not just Tottenham fans, to be fair. I've seen quite a few all around the place, to be fair. But there we go. We'll get into that. Mark, welcome in, my friend. How are we?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Yeah. Have you recovered from Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to shoot off early. I think you were in the same boat, Sparks. A flight to catch, so no hanging around afterwards for me. So
I think I was going to shoot off straight away, and then my missus said she's got to do the second show, so I ended up going back to the pub, and I was sufficiently battered.
That was convenient.
Well,
or inconvenient, maybe.
Inconvenient, probably, for my head on Sunday. Definitely.
But it must have been a serious chore having to go to the pub. I mean, having to go. Right?
Absolute nightmare, mate. Absolute nightmare. I don't know how I managed it, and I waltzed in there. Basically, bearing in mind it was a 5:30 kickoff. I walked in there at 12:05, and went to the game. Had a couple of beers at the game as well. And when I went back to the pub, I think I left about 9:30, something like that. So I was sufficiently oiled, you know what I mean? So I'd put a shift in. So yeah, there we go. Nighty, welcome in, my friend. Thanks for joining us. If you are in the YouTube, or if you're actually joining us on Twitter, please make sure you come through to the YouTube and hit the likes and the shares on the channel. It makes such a difference to everybody to actually getting the channel out there. But yeah. So what did we think of the lineup when it was posted? Was there anything that kind of stood out for you? And did it go as you thought it would, Mark?
Yeah, I think we discussed last week, Sparks, there was only possibly going to be two changes. Now, it turned out Ben White was injured or unavailable anyways, so that was the obvious one, Timber coming back in. And then we thought Madueke might get in ahead of Martinelli, but it was only very much a might rather than a definite. So slightly surprised to see him starting, but I thought he put in a good performance on Saturday, in fairness to him. So yeah, no major shocks with the lineup, but certainly a bit of a surprise to see Madueke in ahead of Martinelli.
Yeah. Did you have the same kind of thought, Dom?
Exactly the same kind of thought. I mean, I made one change in my predicted lineup, so which was Timber in for White because we knew he was injured. You know, and I think we talked about it last week, the sort of Timber, Calafiori, White, Miles Lewis-Skelly sort of combos at the fullback. So I think that provides a really nice balance. And as such, I think, you know, that's what I was expecting. And like Mark's just said, you know, I wasn't surprised to see Madueke start, but I had Martinelli starting. I thought he'd give him another go because against Leeds, it's slightly weaker opposition, and try and help Martinelli find his confidence, his form, because we know he can perform when he's confident and feeling good. And Leeds were likely to come and not park the bus, giving him space to run at, which is sort of what Martinelli enjoys. But as Mark said, Madueke I thought did well, and particularly when he went over to the right, looked even brighter, which may be crucial in the coming weeks, as I'm sure we'll discuss.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely. I think he definitely spruced up when he did move over to the right, but I don't think he did anything majorly wrong on the left. Yeah. I just think he just looked a bit brighter and a bit zippier. Maybe at that point that we kind of built a bit of confidence, because the first half was a little bit, I don't know, sludgy, a little bit, hard work, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Leeds were hanging in, but it's 0-0. The opposition's always going to hang in, make it difficult as they can. And once we scored, our performance levels definitely went up, and theirs might have dropped a little bit. But yeah, the first half an hour, 35 minutes, it was, as you said, Sparks hard work. Look, we're only about 2 games in, so any team coming, if they're not making hard work for at least half an hour, you'd have to be a little bit worried about their prospects. So that's just my thinking of it. Any team that you play in the early part of the season, if they're not making it difficult for you, you'd have to worry about where they're going rather than looking at your own performance as well. So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that, and it's they have to show some kind of fight and some kind of stepping in, don't they? Because you know, otherwise they'll end up with the way Ange did, and basically full on attack, and they're going to ship even more goals. It actually could have been more than 5 if they hadn't have done that as well, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah. So obviously a few changes and a bit of a shuffling in the pack a little bit later on in the game. Obviously Trossard came on, and Noni went on the right. What did you make about it there when it was kind of more or less as we'd expect to see it?
Yeah, Dom, go ahead.
Thank you. I was. I mean, I agree with you on that sort of first half an hour or so. I wonder, though, whether it might have been slightly deliberate by Arteta as well to try and get some control back after we really struggled for that at Old Trafford, just trying to build that rhythm. But I agree. I mean, once we got the goal, it sort of opened up more. You could sort of see us looking to go more direct. And I think that continued under Trossard and Madueke after Saka sort of had to go off, and as did Martin Odegaard as well. You know, Wanyeri, it's nice to see him looking central. I think that'll be a bit of adaptation, but that's obviously his natural position. But, you know, Arsenal looked confident. They looked full of it, and Leeds were, you know, sensibly, they tried to be more pragmatic, but Arsenal's quality sort of shone through. But I thought it was really encouraging from Trossard as well, because, you know, he you know, there was talk about his future, whether he wasn't signing that new contract. Then there was pressure on him because people were saying, well, he signed a new contract for more money, but no longer period. And I thought he came in and did really well. And, you know, I think him off the bench is a real asset. I think he must be up there with the sort of top goals and assists from the bench, you know, in the last 3-4 years. You know, across the Premier League. I mean, he is really quite exceptional in that role, and I think that could be crucial come the end of the season. But you know, Arsenal didn't miss a beat with the subs, and I thought that was really encouraging. I think that talks to the depth, and it talks to the fact that it should allow Mikel Arteta to make rotations in games quite often, you know, in terms of his starting 11 and in game. And I think that's going to be crucial to if Arsenal want to be successful this year. And it will be crucial to him overcoming one of the major criticisms I have had of him. Now, I caveat that with the squad wasn't really necessarily deep enough and good enough for him to do that. If you want to make the progress you want to make, you kind of have to play your best players. So I understood why it is. But in the last year or two, it has been at the point where you can. Last year, he obviously pretty much had to pick who was fit, and there was no other option. Yeah. So it's not necessarily criticism in terms of he hasn't done it, because I've understood why he hasn't done it. The question, though, is can he do it? And I thought that was quite encouraging to see that, and I think that will give him confidence going forward to be able to do that through the season. So I thought that was a real plus and positive from the game.
That's it. It's all about building trust, isn't it? Those guys who aren't necessarily starters have to earn Arteta's trust, as Dom just said. I think over the last few years, he probably hasn't trusted the guys behind him to perform when called upon, so that's why he hasn't gone to them. But I think this year, with the investment that's been made, the squad is certainly stronger, and he will have more trust in the guys sitting beside him or behind him to come on and make an impact, or to even start games if he wants to leave an Odegaard or a Saka out of the team for the purposes of rest.
Yeah. Do you think Heinz has got something to do with that? He seemed to be very involved on the bench when I watched like replays and stuff that were going around. He seemed very involved with like the decision making. Seems very hands on, and the thing that the vibe I kind of get from him is he's about strength and kind of, you know, physicality more than the tactician type side of things. So it might well be that he's basically stepped in and gone, you need to do this and you need to trust these guys a bit more to take the pressure off. Do you think that's got anything to do with it at all?
there's every chance. Obviously, we don't know what's going on at London Colony on a day-to-day basis, but when a new coach comes in like that, he's obviously going to try and impress his ideas on the group. So he's obviously come in and hit the ground running, and maybe he has changed Arteta's mind on a couple of things or on a couple of players. Time will obviously tell on that, but he's got he's a player, he's played huge clubs, so he's obviously come in and trying to hit the ground running. So yeah, there could very well be something in that, Sparks, that he's had an impact on Arteta's thinking so far this season, and obviously over the summer as well.
I mean, as Mark says, we just don't know. But I mean, Heinz comes in with a really high reputation. Interestingly, I sort of put his name out there on a live show, and it turned out 5 days later or whatever it was, we appointed him. But I think he's someone that's been there and done it at the top level. Clearly a talented coach. But I think Mikel Arteta realised that himself. I don't necessarily think he needed telling that was the case, but I wonder if the confidence Heinz sort of gives him in some ways by sort of backing that up in training or something like that, and in the sort of coaches meetings, sort of really gives him the confidence to sort of carry that through, because he is still relatively inexperienced as a manager, and having people like that and new voices are always sort of welcome. So yeah, as Mark says, every possibility, but I suspect we'll never know. Unless Heinz comes out with a book saying it was all me.
I mean,
another all or nothing documentary on the way.
Yeah, and the thing is that Heinz comes across as that kind of guy that would come out with that book anyway, whether it was right or not. So
presumably 57 varieties.
Yeah,
are available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all different endings. So yeah, it kind of comes across that kind of way that is but. Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that Arteta didn't have that in him. I was just more like suggesting that maybe it was a tipping point of, right, okay, you now have to, they've added a different aspect to their game, and it's put a different thought in the manager's mind rather than, it's actually his responsibility for it.
No, absolutely. And I think, if you look when Steve Round left, we didn't bring in a new voice for the coaching staff. So this is the first time in a few years. So it'd be daft if Mikel Arteta wasn't listening to that. And it wouldn't shock me if that's one of the things Heinz has said. But, and I think you're absolutely spot on there.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's just the way I see it. I mean, it might be complete codswallop, and I've just made it up out of my head. But, well, I have made it out up out of my head. You know what I mean? But it could be true. It might not be. Who knows?
No, you're really hand of Arsenal when, in disguise.
No, absolutely not. No, I'm not at all. Yeah, not with the condition I was in after the game. Absolutely not.
Did you see that ball going to the net 5 times each goal?
No, I didn't know. Actually, I missed Saka's goal, which I was really disappointed with, as I had a shirt with Saka on the back. But it's like I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of rolling to its conclusion, and nothing's going to happen. And sure enough, he scored towards the end of the first half. But yeah, I got to a point where I needed a loo and a beer. So yeah, the queues at that place.
Make room for the new one.
Absolutely, yeah. You've got to make room first, and if you're not doing both at the same time, then not at the same time, but in the same trip. Just to clarify. I'm drinking my own piss, but
quite the movement.
Yeah, special movement.
Party trick.
So Nighty said that the Calafiori and Noni were class. Calafiori again was involved in everything, wasn't
he? Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Like, he was absolutely. Him, hopefully, look, he can stay fit. He had a very much an injury interrupted first season, but when we got him on the field last year, he was a good performer. People have probably forgotten, because of the fact Lewis Skelly was so good as well, that Calafiori kind of became the forgotten man at left back. But when he played last year, he was quite good. Just injury interrupted a lot of the season. So hopefully he can get a good run of games in the team and continue to improve as the season goes on, because his first 2 performances this season have been very impressive.
Yeah, I will caveat that, because obviously at points during the start of the last season, he was the only fit centre back, right back, left back, or whatever. and yeah, he was shipped from one side to the other when players were out. He couldn't recover to save his life. To be fair to him, because he just never had any time, and he came in with an injury as well, so he had no time to recover from that. And then we end up playing Party at right back because we don't have any
players left. Yeah.
I mean, when you're down to your fifth choice right back, it's a problem, right? But I mean, the thing with Calafiori and Marino, they both came in, and got injured / were injured very early on and missed pre-season. And Theo Walcott talked about that. When you miss pre-season, it has a massive impact on your career. And it was interesting with Marino that it was in a different position. He sort of, once he got his little run and he got himself back fit, he did quite well given sort of the level you'd expect him to in the team. And and Calafiori now is fit and starting to do well. I mean, people have criticised him for his defensive work, and certainly I think he's a bit raw still, looks much more solid at centre half, but I think that's a tactical thing with left back as well, which is that's where we're looking to get a lot of output attacking wise from our defenders, and therefore it leaves a space, and that's partly because Gabriel is so good at covering it, so he is going to look like he's defensively, quote, a liability. I don't think that's the case at all, but I think he's already looked better this year. I think he understands the system better, and he's starting to get a sort of understanding of what he's wanting to do, and we know how hard it is, for players to understand what Arteta's asking for them. The likes of Declan Rice, one of the best players, in the league, talked about how hard it is. But going forward, he's just a handful because no one knows where he's going to be and what he's going to do as well, and that's sort of such a weapon for Arsenal. And you can sort of see why he was signed. It's just, as you guys say, a shame that he wasn't fit more last season, because it would have been interesting to see how he'd got on.
Yeah, I also think that obviously Arteta likes to utilise players to play the centre back and the full back, especially as if you're a backup. So obviously we've got three on the right side now with Mosquera, White, and Timber, and essentially we've got the same on the left. Whether we keep to that point or actually the new incoming kind of takes that role or not, we don't quite know yet. But it's a utility role, isn't it? It's not a standard. Yeah, you're back up for centre back and you don't play, or you're keeping fitness by actually being rotated in and out, aren't you?
Very much so. Very much so. If you're not a definite first choice, Arteta definitely likes players who can play in multiple positions. And that just makes sense, because it means that you don't have to buy a left back and a left centre back if you've got a guy who can cover both of those positions very well if the first choice gets injured. So yeah, it's something that I think has been a trend definitely for Arsenal. I'm not really sure I think City have kind of been doing this for a while as well. Players who can cover across a couple of different positions, particularly at the back, just means that your depth you've got guys who are covering two positions for depth, which is obviously keeps your numbers down as well, as much as anything else.
Yeah. Obviously, a bit of a downside to the game was the injuries. 90 is saying how refreshing is it not to be stressing out too much over the injury of Saka, knowing the depth we now have within the squad. Do you think we've eased this? Do you think this has been remedied, or do you think that there's more that needs to be done? Where are you with it?
I think ideally from an attacking point of view, I would, you always want one more, right? I mean, I've sort of spoken about my dream window would include Rodrigo coming in. But I think when you look at it from an Arsenal perspective right now, the numbers are there. What we could be missing for Liverpool, Saka, Havertz and Odegaard, we're certainly going to be missing two of them. And yet you're still going to be able to field, I might be missing someone here, but Madueke, Trossard, Martinelli, Wanyeri, Dalman, and Gyökeres, and we're missing Jesus as well. That's still a lot of options for those front four positions.
You've forgotten Eze.
Eze, yeah, I knew I'd forget someone. Yeah, and that's still a heck of a lot. The main man, the man I've wanted for 2 years, is the one I forget, of course.
We'll get on to Eze anyway. We're evading that conversation.
You look at that and you go, that is a lot of attacking options. You look at it last year, and I always felt we were one light, and I've excluded Nelson and Vieira on the ground. I assume they're going out. But last year was what? Sterling, Wanyeri, who's just coming through, Jesus, Trossard, Martinelli, and Saka, and Odegaard, of course, and that was it for your front four positions. That's light years away. We've had that depth in defence, and arguably in midfield for a while. Now we've got it up front, and that's right the way through the squad, and that's what you want to be doing. And yeah, 90, I genuinely can't believe I forgot Eze. Hang your head in shame.
He's only in the door. He's only in the door. Easy one to forget.
I mean, in fairness, I didn't put this one out first, so we're gonna forgive you a little bit. That's yeah. So I mean, and what grade would it? What points rating would you give the window now? What would you say it is in terms of the whole transfer window? What would you say it was out of 10 now?
Jesus, yeah, probably 8. It's somewhere between 8 and a 9. I don't think we could have done much more. I think from the sales point of view, maybe you'd be going.
We don't care about sales, though, do we? We're not bothered about that, are we?
Not particularly.
We just want the players on the pitch. We don't give a damn.
Yeah, not particularly.
Who goes in and
not
out.
particularly. Because that's it. We've plenty of PSR headroom, so it's not as if sales are a big issue for us. But yeah, from the input, the ins, I suppose, I'd be looking somewhere between 8 and a 9. I don't think there's a whole pile more that you would go that would improve us out of all recognition. So that's where I'd be at first.
Yeah. What are you saying, Dom?
I think we're about an 8 at the moment. Look, I always sort of look in windows in context. Last summer was never going to be an active window for Arsenal or most clubs in the league. It just never looked like it was going to be. This one, 2.5 billion spent by the Premier League alone. It was always going to be. But I think Arsenal have addressed all their positions of need. I was talking about this for Liverpool. Liverpool's window is much sexier, with the names they brought in, arguably. This was pre-Eze, but they haven't necessarily addressed all their positions of need. Arsenal, I think, have, and brought in some exciting players. You've got, I think, every player at least improves, on paper on their predecessor, or you can make a strong argument for it if they don't quite. They're at least as good, but I think there's an argument they improve it. I think the reason I'm an 8 at the moment is because we haven't got the outgoings. Mark's absolutely right. From a PSR point of view, no issue. I love numbers. I spend a lot of time looking at this because I'm a sad man. But I've always said we could bring in the attacker without it. The reason I talk about the outgoings is more because the squad is too big right now, rather than financially. And that's where you want to see sort of Zinchenko, Nelson, Vieira, Lokonga. You want to see them go so that you can just trim down that group so you can really get the focus right and the quality right. You don't want these guys hanging around unhappy because it can impact the group and it can cause you issues. So I think if you lose them, you're sort of at a 9 out of 10 window and you've got to say, even with the context of how active the summer was always going to be, how much money Arsenal have had, etc., they have executed it very, very well. And I think a couple of people who were sort of up in arms on June because we hadn't done anything may well be sort of regretting that now because, we've executed the plan that Bertel was always going to execute and he's done it very well and reacted as well at need,
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get. I don't think about the reaction as such because it's a different position for me. I don't really buy into that, the Havertz injury, and it's caused into the Havertz to the Eze thing at all.
I don't either.
I think it was something, it might have focused a little bit, but it hasn't really. It's a different position. I think that may well have something to do with the renewal of Trossard. Them knowing that injury was there, and they've kind of renewed him and just kind of bit the bullet. Thinking, well, he was a cheap signing anyway. It doesn't matter if we pay him a bit more money because whatever. And who can we get for the money that we're going to get for him anyway? So I think that might be reactive from his point of view, but not from anyone else's point of view.
I agree. You two were talking about this last Thursday, I think it was. I think it was a coincidence it happened to be done on that day. At best, it brought it forward by a few hours rather than anything more. But what I mean by reacting is he's reacted to situations as they've occurred. So Gyökeres versus Sesko, where those two were at and what they were pushing for. the fact that Mosquera became available at Valencia reacted to it. Those sorts of things now. He's reacting to Kivior possibly wanting to go, almost certainly wanting to go, and reacting to that to sort of put plans in place. That's what I mean by the reacting.
Yeah, fair enough. I think Mosquera. I think Mosquera's a Berta one, to be honest.
I think so too. Yes,
Probably.
and I see the transfer window as a Berta and Arteta thing. I think Berta gets all the recognition and praise for executing the deals because that's his side of it. But it's an Arsenal transfer committee as it is at most major clubs.
For sure. But I mean, I just think that obviously Zubimendi was kind of already in the works.
Yeah.
That there's obviously a lot of players that were in the works, and I think that obviously there are some that Berta's had his input as he's come in, and I think he's gone, well, this is quite an easy one that you're going to be able to get done.
I agree.
That's all I mean by it.
I agree. Some will be Berta, sort of, they're the ones Berta's really super aware of and pushing that, and they're talking through. Some will be Arteta, some will be the head scouts, blah, 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 blah. Some will be the data guys, and then the conversation happens and it's total agreement. But I agree, Mosquera is 100% one where you'd have thought Berta would be the one that's aware of that. Berta will have seen him a lot more than anyone else and will have been pushing that. I think you're absolutely spot on there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're on hypotheticals as well, so it's kind of we're guessing as much as anything else, but we're all fans of the game at the end of the day. 90 says it's a 9 out of 10. It can be made a 10 apparently by getting rid of Zinchenko.
Not a fan then, mate.
Yeah, you're not a fan of Zinchenko, then. Yeah, fair enough. For me, I think it's already a 10 out of 10. Because I don't care about outgoings, I don't care about the money. I think we should have been. I was a bit annoyed earlier in the window when Liverpool were spending loads and loads of money, and I thought, why aren't my clubs doing? Why is my club doing that? I pay for a season ticket, for God's sake, and it's I used to do all this accounting thing, and I can't bother with it anymore. So it's just on the field matters. I just want to win, basically, at the end of the day, and that's kind of all I'm focusing on now. So it's just, I don't think we've had one window where we catered to every single thing that we asked for. And I mean, I saw people, and you were talking about the meltdown beforehand. I saw people basically saying we need 10 players, but why the hell didn't we bring the striker in first? Well, because those 4 players, while you were messing around with the striker, are gone somewhere else. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
So
very good point.
You can't have it all. So you go 5 million quid or whatever it was for Kepa. Well, I'm sorry, he improves Man United straight away.
100%.
He's arguably the best player going to leave.
Yeah, if United had the window back now, they would have signed Kepa straight away.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
So now you say no, he's not, and the best transfer in years. I don't know how it's going to continue, and I hope it continues in the same vein that we actually, cater for the positions that we need to get done. But the reason I say it's a 10 out of 10 is because we covered all angles. It could be made better with a left winger, I agree, but I think it takes it over a 10.
I think there's a very good argument for that, to be fair. As I say, I take one off just for the outgoings not being done yet, but I think they will be. And as I say, it's not the money side, it's the squad side. Even though I love numbers, I'm very, very geeky like that, which is why I care about it. I find it interesting, right? But, you're right. Your point is, would I rather care about numbers or would I rather care about wins and trophies? Well, it's obviously numbers. No, it's obviously the wins and trophies, right? That's the key bit. I just find it very fascinating. But, it has been an exceptional transfer window without question, and who cares what order they come in? If you're signing Kepa on July the 1st or whatever it was, well, we're still not back at training. So it doesn't matter who comes in first. They're not back at training until the 8th of July.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gyökeres missed a bit of training, but that was down to pivoting from Sesko to Gyökeres anyway, because so somebody says
Sporting played silly beggars as well, which didn't help.
Well, I was having
three players to agree a deal, and
Yeah.
if one's going to play silly beggars, as you quite rightly say, Mark, there's very little you can do.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it. So somebody was saying this to me with, we undervalued Sesko, and I said, what's your point? We're not still sat on the same bid for Sesko.
Yeah, yeah.
We bid, then we bid again, and we decided not to go through with it. So we went, no thanks, we're going over here.
Yeah,
and he's then left.
That ability to pivot is something that Bert has done very, very well. That we don't go chasing down a rabbit hole after one player, and then we're still here now chasing. Like someone put it up, I think we could be sitting here with no Gyökeres or no EZE, still chasing down Isak, and it's 2 weeks for the window, and you've no striker because Gyökeres has gone somewhere else. EZE's gone to Tottenham, and you've lost all your deeds because you've gone down a rabbit hole on one player. So I think that's something that Berta deserves to make. Well, whether it's Berta or, as you said, a transfer committee being able to pivot very quickly from one player to the next target. It's something that's refreshing and something that's very, very positive, I think, going forward.
It's a big difference from that Vlahovic window.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, we've learned the lessons from that anyway. You look at Mudryk, and then we pivoted to Trossard. That was under the previous regime. So Arsenal clearly learned lessons from that. But you can see it sort of on steroids this summer, right?
Yeah.
It could have been worse. It could have been the Higuain transfer, or the Benzema transfer window, or the
or every window for the previous 10 years.
It could have been any of those, And I'd much rather.
Yeah, and Mvia's doing his medical any day now as well, isn't he?
Yeah, Mvia. Yeah. That was another one, wasn't it?
Is that for our over 50s?
I mean, yeah, we might have a legends match with all the people we didn't get.
Yeah.
That we were supposedly getting next week or whatever, and it just
we
constantly.
Could turn that into an Emirates Cup, couldn't we? There must be at least 4 teams worth.
I think most of them have played an Emirates Cup at some point as well. It's just mad. You literally look at it. I'm sure that Draxler did.
Fairly certain Mvia did.
Yeah, Mvia definitely did. Benzema did.
Potentially.
Benzema definitely did.
Benzema definitely did one. I don't think Higuain did, actually. I think Higuain is probably the only one that hasn't out of those 4 anyway. Not. But yeah, I'm sure there's time yet. You can come out of retirement and do an Emirates Cup. But that was the year that he was booked in, the year that we didn't do the Emirates Cup.
Sorry, I just maybe half. I hate to break it to you, but Mvia, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not, is it? No, it's probably not the only one that won't ever happen either. But a lot of I'd honours to win something this year. Now with transfer window, you can only choose one. Win Prem. Oh, okay, right, okay.
Yeah.
So you can only choose one, which you need to win. The Prem, Champions League, or FA Cup. Which one are you picking? Think you know, right? We kind of covered this last week as well, by the way, Nighty. So you obviously didn't watch the whole show, but just saying, kind of already answered it. But we'll do it again for your ears, since you don't want to watch the replay.
Shall I go first? Right, Mark,
go for it.
I can give you the same answer I did last week, which is, well, it would love to win our first ever Champions League. For me, it's the Premier League because 21 years is a very long time, and I think I like to be champions of your country. So for me, it's the Premier League. But to be honest, I'm taking a trophy, any trophy. Although, haven't we won the transfer window? Is that a trophy?
We've won the Emirates Cup.
How many points do you get for that?
And we won that one in Singapore as well. I mean, we're on the treble already.
Hong Kong trophy or something. Didn't we win it twice? Did we win it on penalties as well? Didn't we? So we won it twice.
That's true.
Yeah. So Premier League for me. But I'm not balking at any of them.
Yeah, same. I wouldn't turn my nose up at any of them, but I'd go Champions League just for the fact we've never won it before. So I think to have that box ticked would be fantastic. But again, any of those, I wouldn't turn my nose up at.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. I mean, we're going to be very, very boring. I think we're going to go with the same answer. But I will caveat that the Champions League is more important to Arsenal in the ranking of trophies, if you know what I mean. So I think always the domestic league is the most important, but I think it's more important to Arsenal because we haven't got that on the wall.
Yeah.
So I actually think that in terms of the ranking of trophies, as Arsenal would see it, I think it would be Champions League and then the Premier League.
I think that's probably right.
Purely because it's not on the wall; it's a hole in the wall. And if as soon as we win it once, it's always the Premier League.
Agreed.
That would be my take on it. But
I agree with that. As I say, for me, it's just 21 years without Premier League is so long. That's why.
No, I agree.
I think you're right on Arsenal.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. But I think if they had to prioritise one, and just go right, let's just go hell for leather for this, it'd be the Champions League. Purely because there's less games to do it. We haven't done it before, and it takes the club to the elite level, if that's the thing. If we're not there already, do you know what I mean?
It you know, whether we're elite level or not, I think I would argue we are, but we're probably one of the few elite level clubs across Europe that doesn't have one.
Yeah, but I think that's ultimately what makes you elite, if you know what I mean. So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So we're already massive club, but elite club, it puts you in that window because
you join another bracket kind of.
Yeah. And I also think that once you've won it once, it's not really paramount to win it again.
No,
because you have
someone like Real Madrid who wants to win 500 of them.
Yeah, but
they value it above all else. But
yeah, of course, and they see it as their trophy, don't they?
Yes, they own the thing. Yeah,
yeah. So which is fair enough. They won it 15 times for God's sake. But yeah, I think after we'd won it once, I think the priority would always be the Premier League. Is where I was kind of going.
Yeah.
Like I said, you mean we're not getting Benzema or Villa? Sorry, I hate to break it to you. If you had the illusions of them coming, no. No, not last week, mate. Thanks for pointing that out. You're welcome. Yeah. Feel free to join every week. And Knight is agreeing with that as well. So yeah, fairs. Yeah, so we were treated to a little bit of an announcement before the game. And Nighty kind of alluded to it earlier on. Kind of set the tone for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I've watched this about half a dozen times. I have to be honest. I've watched the replay about half a dozen times. And he just looked like a cat that got the cream, didn't he?
100%. 100%. He looked like the happiest man in the world was walking onto that pitch. Again, look, yeah. So hopefully his performances live up to what we've seen from him in a Palace shirt, because he could turn out to be an absolutely exceptional signing. He's been brilliant for Palace for the last few seasons now, and it's no shock a club like Arsenal have come in for him. So yeah, hopefully he delivers for us just like he did for them for the last few seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it was such a heartwarming moment, wasn't it, to see, what that meant to him, with him as an Arsenal fan, his family as an Arsenal fan, the story about him being released from the academy at 13, has made it at Palace, done really, really well at Palace. I know he struggled at the start of last season, but other than that, he's been exceptional for them for the last 2 years, not single-handedly, but was a massive, massive part of their cup win last year, and then to come there, get that reception, walk out at the Emirates like that must have just been what a heartwarming moment for him. But there's also what he can do on the pitch, right? I mean, I think he's a player that can play multiple positions. He sort of glides past players. He's not sort of that strong physical runner. He's that delicate sort of technical runner that, really only Saka is in the squad for us other than him. Can make something out of nothing, will not afraid to take a shot on, but also apparently an all-round, top class guy as well, which I think, is something like Mikel Arteta really, really wants to see. So I think this is a fantastic signing, and I think it really, really just adds something the squad doesn't have, and I think that could be vital come the end of the season.
Yeah, also when the way he's conducted himself throughout the whole thing as well, and it's a bit of inspiration as well to say, obviously, that there are second chances, for everything, because it obviously was released, and I'm sure it means that much to him, not just because of that, but because he kind of gets a second bite of the apple. Do you not think that might be the case as well?
Yeah, 100%, Sparks. I think he said after he was released, his mom prayed for this moment, and that the chance would come around again. So, as I said, it shows a lot to a lot of people that if at first it doesn't quite work out, just keep working on it and working on it and working on it, to get back to that point, which he has. So delighted for him, and as the guy, he looks absolutely delighted to be back at Arsenal. So, very heartwarming the way the whole thing was done. Introduced him on the pitch on Saturday, and the videos since, the video with Thierry Henry and the work with Ian Wright as well. Just very well done by the club. I think others disagree, but sure, let them off.
Yeah, for sure. But no, he said him watching that video from Thierry Henry was unreal. He loved every second of this. I will play for that badge for the fans in every game. I think that's hard to argue with as well, isn't it? It's like Thierry Henry's his idol, and he kind of looks up to him, and he's there giving him a pep talk, really, of signing for the Arsenal. It's just ridiculous, kind of. I don't know. It was quite emotional watching it. I don't know how you felt, but it was quite emotional actually watching it. It was just fair enough to him, and he's but you don't realise how much it actually means to play some players as well. That who they're actually playing for and where their careers go, do you?
No, it was also a good reminder that, for all the money they have, these guys, a lot of them, it's not just their livelihood, but for a lot of them, they care, right? And, Eberechi Eze is sort of the living embodiment of that in the last few weeks, and as Mark just says, he's been inspiration for others, don't give up, don't ever give up.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so can we just take a moment to say how class the Palace fans have been? And I completely agree with that. I have had one in messaging me before we signed Eze, because he watched where he saw the clips on through my TikTok account, and he was like, why do Arsenal fans keep talking about Eze, and why do they do this, that, and the other? And I'm like, well, we're only hypothesizing. It's not, we didn't say we're guaranteed to get him. We didn't say, anything really. He was pointing out that we hadn't even bid for him yet, and this, that, and the other. And it was all, well, obviously talks have happened. The talks have definitely happened at some point, and it turns out that from reliable sources that talks happened in June, they happened in July, and in August we signed him. So it's not as if it's a new thing. So there is evidence that we were actually talking to him, and he wanted to come. So I don't really understand what the problem is talking about things, especially as he's got a TikTok channel and people talk about what the hell they want to talk about. So I don't really understand that, to be honest. That's the only kind of, well, one other on Twitter, but you never really know, do you? Just whether they're just bantering or whatever. But
it's also say things for the clicks and what have you sometimes, right? But
but I mean,
there's money to be made and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Did you see the interviews that they did on Haters TV? I mean, there was
I haven't.
Yeah, there was a video that they put out on X. I keep calling it Twitter, but just whatever.
You know what we mean.
It's the same difference, isn't it? Haters put a video out and basically interviewed a lot of Palace fans, and I know a few myself from where I live as well. And they've all kind of gone, well, we're glad he's gone to you. We're glad he's not gone to Tottenham and this, that, and the other, because they see it as they would see that as a sideways step rather than a level up. It's a shame West Ham fans didn't think that with Rice, but there you go. Yeah. They still think Rice was a sideways step for some reason, but there we go. It's just nice, isn't it, that other fan bases can kind of interact with other fans and actually be happy for them rather than just being bitter the whole time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Eze
used to it though.
No. But Eze was class with the Palace fans as well, and very respectful for the club, kept going till the end. Obviously didn't play in that final game, but I think at that point I actually think he also did that for selfless reasons as well. And it wasn't, Palace didn't want to risk him getting injured anyway. It'd have been daft playing him, and we certainly didn't want to see him miss the game. Get hurt in the game, but his head can't have been in that game, and it was a huge game for Palace. So I suspect he was very selfless from that point of view, rather than actually just looking to, I'm done now, see you later. I think he was still thinking Palace till the end.
Yeah, I completely agree, and obviously they've done the training sessions and whatever with Sky watching on, and as he left that training ground, they went, "Are you going to Tottenham?" And he completely blanked them and everything. So he must have known by that point where he was actually going. So it was like, it was quite funny, but that caused a little bit of a meltdown, didn't it? But
just a tad.
Yeah, we've had another meltdown today, though, haven't we? Just Nkape.
Yeah.
So that's looking like it's a done deal. As much as we can say done deal, I don't know if it's actually paperwork signed and whatever. I'm not getting clipped.
Apparently, we've come to an agreement for a fee of around 42.7 million.
Is that euros?
Nope, pounds. I did the conversion for you in my head, which is why I was slightly slower on telling you the figure.
All right, I thought I saw
money.
one.
Not the monopoly money we use over here.
No, I saw one for 35 million, but it was quite a while ago, and it was from not a very prominent account. So I'm not.
Yeah, I think that's all in, including any add-ons, etc., etc.
Right,
42.7. I think it's 42.6 something.
The add-ons are if he wins a Ballon d'Or in the next 2 years and
that
whatever.
Sort of
anyway.
thing, yeah. But I'm assuming this deal is predicated on a Kivior exit, right? I mean, it can't be.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
I don't think it is.
It suggests that's more.
You don't
as well.
No.
You think he's coming in addition to Kivior?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Do tell.
I think it's obviously left-sided anyway, so it's perceived that Zinchenko has put surplus to requirements, and you need another one on that side.
You reckon we can run with 9?
I think it's with the premise of putting Lewis Skelly in midfield.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So I don't think he'll continue at left back. I think he'll be Kivior. I never pronounce his name very well. So
Calafiori?
No, I can do Calafiori, Nkape, whatever his name is, but yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but I think it was with the premise of actually putting him in the midfield.
I mean, I think it's a Kivior, placement. I think Arteta is sold on Lewis Skelly as a left back because of the fact he plays him almost in midfield anyway. But that'll be very interesting to see if Kivior does stay and he comes in and Miles Lewis Skelly comes into midfield. A lot of people would be very happy if that happens.
Yeah, I'd be. I think the offers that are coming in aren't enough to kind of tempt the club to sell.
That's true. They all seem to be loans, don't they? Or obligations and stuff like that.
So. Even when you're talking the figures, the figures aren't kind of going into 30 million euros.
No, it's 27 is the highest.
Yeah, and we paid nearly 20 million quid for him. So I don't see him being allowed to go for that. I still think it's going to be a case of if somebody comes in with the right offer, then you can go. But unless that happens, you're not going. And I agree with that stance if that's the case.
Yeah, so do I. We've been having our pants pulled down on sales for way too long, so eventually you kind of have to just go, no, enough's enough. So yeah, if we're going to play hardball, so be it. So yeah, if we get the right offer, yeah, by all means. But we have a certain valuation on the player. If teams are trying to lowball us, then it has to be a case of, no, here's our valuation, meet it or get lost.
I concur. I mean, I think largely I concur anyway. I think for some players, I think right now for Lokonga, you're getting what you can probably get for him.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But he's not getting anywhere near the squad. If there are players that can contribute, then fair enough.
I was going to say that if Zinchenko, you probably don't quite get your value for him because of his wages, but I still think you're looking at, sort of a 12 to 15 mark. But Kivior is a player we don't want to sell. And therefore, that's when you play the hardball, because Arsenal do need to get better at selling. They need to generate more money and they need to change its reputation. It changed a little bit in the last few years with sales like Nketiah, Smith Rowe, the lad that we sold, Balogun, to Monaco. But, still we had that reputation round. And, the only way to change it is to do a little bit of hardball over it. And Kivior should be one of those for the reasons you two just said, which is we don't want to sell him. He's a value part of our first team squad. If you want him, you're going to have to pay for him. I heard today an obligation of £27.5 million with Porto. I mean, if you're looking to sell that market, it's difficult to raise a lot of money. But, ultimately, I think that's a low bid for Kivior. I really do.
Yeah, I do as well. And I think you'll be looking in the region of 35-40. And that's kind of euros, but if you're not getting anywhere near that, you keep hold of him, because I think if more he contributes to the squad anyway, his value will still go up. And there's plenty of teams that take him. I think he walks into Chelsea's side.
Especially with Caldwell being injured.
That's what I mean. I think he walks into that side.
Yeah, I mean, because Hato's unknown at this moment in time. I think Hato ultimately will probably be a better player than Kivior, but at this moment in time, I agree. I think he walks into a lot of sides right now. In the Premier League, he really does. Villa, he improves them.
Yeah.
Palace, if he goes.
Arguably Newcastle. Botman hasn't exactly excelled.
No. That's it, and it means they could move Byrne back to left back, where you can just kick people up in the air all day.
I mean, we shouldn't sell them to him, but he'd improve Liverpool's squad as well. Liverpool could do with him.
Yeah, well,
we shouldn't sell to him, obviously, but
I'm not selling anybody to Liverpool at the minute, to be honest. Apart from Zinchenko, I'd probably sell Zinchenko. So.
I was going to say Lokonga.
They can have Lokonga, Vieira. Any of those.
Reece Nelson.
Yeah, I don't think Reece Nelson will go, to be honest. But
I think he wants to stay in London, doesn't he, Reece?
Yeah. I'd pay somebody to take Zinni.
Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to
leave you. No worries, mate. No worries. Thanks
again for having me on, fellas. And I'll chat to you
Mark,
again.
lovely to meet you as well.
Have a good one, everyone.
See you next time, mate.
You too, Don. Thanks, mate. Have a good one.
Indeed. We were talking about the sales aspects, and I saw an interesting kind of. It was done by DR Sports, actually, so I should tell them, since I'm reading off their. Not that they need plugging from me, you know what I mean. But since I'm using their kind of products, I guess. So academy sales, the top 5: Chelsea 365 million, Aston Villa 246 million, Man City 218 million. Liverpool 192 million, and Arsenal 135 million. Now I was quite surprised we even made that top 5, to be honest with you. When you consider the rap that we get for not being able to sell, do you think that not being able to sell is actually down to the club, or do you think that they were bought at inflated cost in the first place and basically didn't have the profile to make it in this league?
I have quite a lot of sympathy for Edu and for Berta in terms of the sales, to be honest, for a few reasons. I'm just going to take the last 5 years, but I think this goes back prior to that as well. I just think if you look at the depth players in the squad, they weren't that good, right? So when you look at likes of Tavares, and I'm just picking on Nuno Tavares as one example, I think there was a couple of elements here. Nuno Tavares was brought in to be a backup left back to a side that was currently 8th in the league, and Kieran Tierney was going to play every game when fit. And at that point, he'd only had one season of issues, right? Nuno Tavares obviously wasn't of the right quality. Arteta wanted and needed to try and win things. It's like that magic. That look, the light goes on. And therefore was going to play the best players possible to do it. So Tavares gets no minutes or very few minutes, and therefore the sale was always going to be low. You then, on the converse side, had players like Liechtensteiner or Luis or Mustafi who were on high wages and again weren't of the right quality. And again, trying to move these players on is going to be challenging. And some of them had egos, and wanted to play at the top level as well. So you've got to try and then find a team that's willing to take their wages on, willing to take them when they may not be at the quality, etc. And you've got to try and find a club the player's willing to go to. It can be quite challenging. I think the one thing I would say that the club could do better, and I think, I'm quite happy with the job Arteta has done. I accept he needs to win this season, but one of the criticisms I would have of him is once a player is out in his mind, they are out, and that makes it even harder to sell because everyone knows we want rid of them.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
All of those things come together to make it harder to sell. In my mind, I do, however, think there are some examples where we've sold players, and Leno falls into this last category, which is clearly frozen out, where even with all those, we've sold far too low. Bert Leno for £7 million was ridiculous, right? But those examples are probably few and far between, if we're fair. And I think all of them contribute now. I think we will start to see significant sales now with this squad when we inevitably move on from some of these players going forward, because I think they're going to play significant minutes. They're going to show their quality, and I think therefore their sale value. If we sold Martinelli right now, he's going to become our record sale. I'm not saying we are going to or we should do. I'm just saying if he's sold tomorrow, it's the record sale for Arsenal, and it'd be north of 50 million.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, it's not very hard to be the record sale at the moment. That's the problem.
I think I'm not far off, and I'm 41.
But yeah. I mean, it's not. It's a bit mad, but I kind of get that. But I also think that for too long that we've kind of bought squad players instead of buying first team players. And I know we have this. We don't buy superstars. We make them, this, that, and the other. Sometimes you just have to buy a superstar.
Yeah.
And we've just not done that enough. We haven't showed the commitment. We haven't acted like a big club. So I think there's been too much of that going on, and basically not enough of being proactive and literally improving the starting 11. And I agree with you to a point, and we don't know what Edu had to work with, but surely he's got to be able to bring something in.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the sales, there were times when we sold too low, and I think you're absolutely right in terms of the buying. To some extent, I think we have actually done that in the last few years.
Vieira, 34 million.
But that's the one for me that really stands out, right? I think sometimes you need to bring players in for numbers. Tavares was obviously one of those. We needed to have a backup left back for Kieran Tierney. I have no problem with the Tavares signing. It's obviously not worked, but we at least got our money back. But I understood that one. Matt Ryan, I know it was a loan coming in on loan.
Lokonga, wasn't it? And
Lokonga, Vieira, they're the sort of two that sort of stand out for me as and obviously it's revisionist what happens if they had made it, right? But I think there was always real questions about Vieira's physique for the Premier League when we know it's a physical game. Lokonga you could call C. He had the physique, he had the potential raw skills, but the price was quite high for that risk, and that's for me is where the issue was. If you're paying under 10 million for him, I get it, but we paid 17, 18 million for a player coming out of Belgium that was really quite raw. That was a huge gamble, and I think if you
just because
wanted,
Henri said he was good, it was like,
yeah,
we'll pay a bit more for him.
yeah,
What? Yeah,
yeah,
just give him 12 million. Everybody comes into us with low balls of like 12 million for
yeah,
high profile players, and we go in, we'll just pay 25 million.
that's it.
But we don't have to, do we? So why don't you just put 12 in? And I think we saw that with Mosquera. I think we kind of saw that change a little bit.
I think so.
And even the battling with EZE as well, and not paying his release clause and going, well, we don't want to give you 35 million up front. We want some better payment terms, and
we'll give you 68, but on our terms, not yours.
Yeah. So I don't know how that differs from the release clause, because I'm pretty sure it was like a 35 million up front.
I think it was, and then the rest sort of over 2 years after that. But I think that that's a heck of a sort of outlay, and I think each deal changes, right? I think Arsenal are in a strong position now to do more and to do better because they are a bigger draw and a bigger club, and I think the club deserves some credit for that. But you're exactly right that sometimes you need the numbers, but sometimes you're like, do you know what? Take the risk on one less number in the squad this year and change your Lokonga and Vieira into EZE. I mean, I know that doesn't work in timing wise, but you know what I mean.
No, I know exactly what I mean.
And that's something there. But in terms of the pure selling, I have some sympathy for them because of the quality wasn't there to sell. But they also, as you rightly point out, have to accept the fact they did buy these players, and they shouldn't have. And some of that predates. A lot of that predates. If you look at those early years where Edu was just cancelling contracts because we couldn't do anything else. It was the only way to save some money and get rid of these players. But
yeah, I wouldn't blame him completely. I think the owners and the board kind of screwed anybody that was going to come in, but at the same time, I think Edu has got to take some kind of responsibility.
Exactly.
Like bringing Marquinhos and things like that in, who couldn't even make it at Norwich, for God's sake. So yeah, players not making it through injury is accepted, right? If players aren't making it just because they're not good enough, and you brought that profile in, and they can't do it, then I think that the
buck stops with you.
The board director has to take the responsibility, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, I think if you buying a player that has no injury record, Thomas Partey was one, right? He had no prior injury record, and he came in and bar last season was injured most seasons. Yeah, you kind of have to go. That's unfortunate. That's adaptation to the Premier League or what have you. That's that's not on you. But you go and buy, a player with history of breaking down every season and missing significant months. Well, what did you think was going to happen? You're exactly right. I mean, players like the signings like Marquinhos, I've no issue with overly because we spent £2 million on him. Very low.
£3 million, I think.
Yeah, a low risk, high reward. I can sort of live with that because I mean, as it happened, we just about scraped our money back. But you could think that you probably had in mind there, if you turned into another Martinelli, great. But we can probably turn this into 10, 20 million like Liverpool do with players like Jordan Ibe, etc. over the years. But it's when you're starting to spend 15 to 20 million with absolutely no track record, that's when you start to think, really? And we certainly shouldn't be doing that now because we're not in that position. We're a much bigger club, which ironically should make it easier. Well, not ironically, should make it easier to turn these players into better sales now. Like I said, if you sold Martinelli today, you're probably expecting 60 million. If we sold Mosquera, of course, we just brought him in. You're expecting a profit, right? If you sell him at the end of the summer, you expect
you can't just be letting players go for nothing just because they want to leave.
Yeah.
You kind of have to change that whole thesis and just go, right, okay, this is what we evaluate you at. Of course, we'll let you go, not a problem.
But this must be met.
This has got to be met. This is what we evaluate at. We've got to make some kind of profit. So
and we're a bigger club now where I think we can be far more forceful than we could in the past, where we were wanting to get rid of players and or we weren't the biggest fish in the pond, 5 years ago, we'd have probably lost EZE to Spurs because we were behind them.
Yeah, and people will say, obviously, you're going to miss out on players. Well, yeah, you're going to miss out on some players, but it doesn't seem to bother Chelsea. They seem to be signing all and sundry all the time. And all right, they're not signing the big names that are going to usurp them, but they're obviously seeing some kind of route through. So,
well, there's always other players,
yeah.
right? Look, City turned down players. They didn't go after Florian Wirtz. The price got too big, and they went, "We're out." They went for Ryan Shirky instead. Now Wirtz is probably a better player than Shirky, but they were like, "No, this is our price." Rice, as you quite rightly just said, another one. And and no one's calling them a small club.
Yeah. See you later, night. Thanks for joining, man. He did put another question in actually. That's prediction for Newcastle Liverpool.
I was ignoring it.
Did you read it then? Did you? I didn't even see it. But yeah, what we're saying tonight, bearing in mind, obviously there's no Isak. Definitely not on the bench. Ramsdale makes a bench. So for obviously for Newcastle.
Do you think he'll replace Pope at some point in the season?
I think he's got potential to. I don't think Pope's all that, to be honest.
No.
But yeah, the Liverpool bench is interesting. You got Mamadashvili, Gomez, Bradley, Leone, Robertson, Endo, Elliott, Chiesa, and Rio, the 16-year-old. So not exactly the strongest bench. Apparently, they've got injuries to Bacetic, Frimpong, and McAllister. So,
well,
yeah.
Hopefully, not just saving them for the weekend.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, when you do this, you have to make predictions. It's always my least favourite part, which is why I was ignoring.
No, it's fine. I mean,
I think a draw for this one tonight. I really do.
Really?
I think Newcastle are well set defensively. I think they're the type of side that Liverpool could well find troublesome unless they go and. I worry about the balance of Liverpool. I really do. And I worry about their defensive cover, but of course, when you can only put 11 players on the pitch, that's less relevant for a one-off game. But I think
Newcastle... yeah, but they've only got Curtis Jones at right back.
Well, yeah, they might well have, mightn't they, tonight? But the balance of Liverpool sort of worries me, and I think Newcastle are well set to hit the transitions hard. I think had they had a striker up front, I may well even be tipping Newcastle for this one. I think it's one of those sort of difficult games for all sides to go to Newcastle. But I think a draw tonight, and I think it will be 1-1.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, I can see why most people will be tipping Liverpool.
Yeah, Szoboszlai apparently at right back and Jones in
Szoboszlai at right back.
Yeah.
Really?
That's
against Anthony Gordon.
That's according to live score. I'm only looking at. I'm not watching the game at the minute. I will watch it when we've done, but that's according to live score. So if it's wrong, it's not me. It's live score. Disclaimer. Yeah. I think 3-1 Liverpool. I just think they can turn it on whenever they want, and I hope I'm wrong. And I hope you're right.
I hope I'm right too. I mean, yeah, I think there's a complete.
At the very least.
BBC have gone Jones at right back, but they've just switched it to Szoboszlai, so it looks like it's right back. Literally live on my phone as I.
Yeah, that's literally what happened to me to the live score. So it was obviously the old feed, and they switched it. So literally, I've got half the pitch over the top of the underneath the overlay rather. And it switched just as I said it. So it's
amazing. Oh, there we go. Yeah, let's hope I'm right. But I think there's a lot of logic. Mine is a brave call. I think yours is that if you're putting money on it, yours would be what I'd put money on.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I hope we're both wrong and they lose. But I don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. But,
no, I don't either. Although I did call Tottenham to beat City at the weekend.
Yeah, but they've got history, haven't they? To be fair, yeah. So do you think City are in a title race? Do you think they'll be there?
said at the start of the season on a different show that I felt that Chelsea and City will go good guns in the title early on, but they will fall away and finish third and fourth. Either that or City will sort of lose it in the middle and come back. But I genuinely think it's a two-horse title race this year. But I think City, you can't discount them because they've got a very good manager and they still got a good squad. But I don't think they're in the title race. But I do think they will be massively back in it next year. I really do. I just think they need one more year. I think they still need to do something defensively.
Yeah, I think they'll be like I think like you say, I think it will be early days when Champions League comes up, and they've got to rotate. I don't think they'll stay in it, but I could well be wrong, and perfectly accepting of being wrong, but that's kind of how I see it. Do you actually think that we're going to win the league, or do you think we're going to win anything? Where are you thinking? Where's your head at?
I think we have to win something. I really do, because you can't spend all this money. I felt that last year was the first year we were in a position to win, and what happened. This year, I think we're even stronger position. So I think you have to win something, or else you have to say thanks very much for the job you've done, and let's try someone else. I will caveat this, as I did 2 weeks ago when I was asked the same question. I think Arsenal will win the Premier League this season. I think over 38 games they will win it. Liverpool will blow teams away, but I think they will be vulnerable right now. But the caveat I put on it was that Liverpool bring in more defensive reinforcements. That may well change my mind between now and the end of next week, because right now they have three centre half options. Gomez is a walking hospital ward. Konate is good for a month or two layoff every season, and Van Dijk is 33 and has looked more vulnerable this season. And I think it's not an age thing necessarily. I think that might be part of it, because we all know he's a good player, and it's looked very early to make this sort of call. But he is being left more exposed this year because Liverpool are committing more and more forward. And I just have Kevin Keegan vibes with Liverpool, which is why I've gone Arsenal in a very close race with Liverpool. I know I'm talking about possible last day, certainly second to last day of the season, no earlier. But if Liverpool do rebalance and or bring in defensive reinforcements, then I think that then I'd probably make them favourites. But right now I have Arsenal down as favourites.
Yeah, I think I'm still with Liverpool, but I think everybody's trying to release the pressure on them. But they've never done a back-to-back, which is kind of the only thing that steers me away from them. But it's very hard to look past that. That first 11, that's first 16, I guess, I think is potentially better than ours. I think our squad, our complete squad, if there's injuries and such like, I think we're better equipped now. But yeah, I think obviously they need at least another centre back, don't they?
Definitely.
Potentially another fullback.
Potentially another CDM as well. I mean, Endo, is sort of next in line. I know Curtis Jones, sort of fills in there. So does McAllister, but I see them more as 8s and sort of 6s. If they got an Endo upgrade and brought in Mark Gehi, I think they're there. But I agree with you. I think they're sort of first 16 man for man, I think is stronger. I think when you start getting sort of 17 to 23, I think it goes the other way. But we all know the first 16 are crucial. But for me, it's that balancing right now. That's what makes me think Arsenal are favourites, because I think over a Premier League season, balance is absolutely key to it. And you look at sort of the great Premier League sides; they all had good balance to the way they were set up. They could all score goals, but they could all defend. And I think Liverpool, I question about how well they can defend. I mean, they've already conceded more goals in transition this season. As many goals in transition this season as they did in the entirety of last season, which tells you how good they were last season, by the way.
Yeah.
When you're already at that level, but that kind of tells me that something has changed in their balance of the team, that already they're slightly more vulnerable to that. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think our balance has really changed that much, to be honest, because the players that we've brought in, I already fit the system, to be fair, anyway, and and although they're in critical positions, they've got cover around them. Whereas, like Wirtz and Ekatike, if they're both adapting to the league, right? So they're both going against opponents that they're not prepared for. They're going to locations that they're not prepared for. They don't know what it's about, really, do they?
No, and this is my point, which is exactly what you've just said. We've made a slight tweak to how we do, which is trying to progress the ball a bit faster, basically. Otherwise, the balance is still there. Their balance, it doesn't worry me because I'm not a Liverpool fan, but if I were, it does, and that's why I've gone for Arsenal. So that for me is that's why I've tipped Arsenal. To be fair,
but, I do agree in that kind of sense that as well that Rice being brought back to that position with Zubimendi, I think it frees him up. And it frees Zubimendi as well. And all right, we've only played Leeds and United, but I actually think that they free each other up to be more creative as well. So,
and the opposition don't know which one of the two is going to go. Right? Is Rice going to go or is Zubimendi going to go? They don't know that. And you can make the same argument if Moreno came in for one of those. Because he can sit and hold if he needs to, no problem. But as I say, from a Liverpool perspective, it's just they're going to phone 8 men forward every time. And I'm not sure you can win the Premier League doing that.
The thing is as well that teams are going to actually stay in a low block, basically knowing that if they get out, they've got a good chance of.
They're going 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 3-on-2.
Yeah, maybe. So the more teams are actually going to play out and progress the ball from deep, and not necessarily play the block so much anymore. I don't know if that's even obviously, some teams are going to have to play it, but a lot of teams are going to try and be a bit more creative with it, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, I also think Liverpool score, if they score early against teams, they're going to blow teams away in a way that no other team in this league can. I wouldn't be shocked to see them put in 5 or 6 5 goals or more wins in the league this season. But I also think they're going to be vulnerable against sides like Brighton, Spurs. I think the way we're set up kind of suits up. They're playing them very, very well. I wouldn't be adverse to play. I played Martinelli over Trossard on the left this week. I would. I think Trossard's in better form, but I think he can sort of exploit that space in behind Frimpong whilst matching him defensively coming back. Assuming he's fit for the game.
Sure.
And that. But I think there are enough sides that can do that. That's what makes me hesitant over Liverpool, unless he recalibrates that slightly.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And a lot of particularly promotion teams are like quick out of the blocks, aren't they? And literally can just spring a surprise on you. So I would say that we're probably a little bit vulnerable to that as well. But
I think most of the best sides are because they play higher. But I was talking about the left back earlier. For us, there's a reason why left backs in the Arsenal system struggle was because they're being asked to leave a lot of space, which leaves them vulnerable one-on-one and not quite well set to how they should be. Whereas the right back, and I'm taking nothing away from Timber and White, who I think are excellent, but they are generally that bit deeper and therefore can get themselves set in position much earlier to defend it. And if you're a defender, you want to be set and you want to be in the position, you want to be, you want to be minimising that space. And the left back for Arsenal doesn't have that, comfort.
Yeah, I as I say, I still have Liverpool winning it. I think we'll be second. I think I still think City will be third.
Yeah, I had City third.
Chelsea probably fourth, but I do think it'd be interesting when they figure out that they've got to rotate for Champions League or whatever they've got to do. So
which they didn't have to last year.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Same with Spurs, and I kind of got them 5th or 6th, maybe 6th or 7th. They're debating really, but it's
a difficult one because I don't think Newcastle and Villa are as good as they were last year either. So sort of trying to work out who finishes 5th is actually quite difficult.
Yeah, I think Villa dropped off because of their PSR concerns. They kind of went gung ho with it, and and now
They
they're
had to
blaming.
get Champions League.
Yeah, now they're blaming the red cartel, and yeah, don't do it. But yeah, it's a bit mad, but
What I do think it's going to be is very, very close for the title. I really think it will be close, and it's so hard to predict because you can make a really good case for either Arsenal or Liverpool, really. I mean, you can still make a case for City and a very good one. Just for me, like you, I just think they're not quite there yet.
yeah, I just think that experience that they've lost in the middle, and the kind of reliance on KDB, and they still got Bernardo Silva. So it's just a bit. It's probably coming to the end of his tenure as well. So they've tried to keep some kind of veterans, if you like, but maybe the wrong ones. So yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, to predict at this stage? We're only 2 games in, so it's we'll get to 10 games and we'll kind of take it from there, really. But yeah,
that's when it starts to shape out. You
absolutely, yeah. Anyway, we're going to call it there because I want to go and watch football. So yeah, yeah. But yeah, thanks for joining us as well, Dom. And yeah, Dom's got his own channel, which is Awesome Domination. So go and make sure you're dropping that a follow and a subscribe as well. But yeah, cheers for joining us, Dom.
Thank you as always for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure. And lovely talking to Mark earlier as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, always a pleasure. And but yeah, we're going to be back. I might do a show on Friday. On Wednesday, I'm definitely going to do one on Friday. It's like a preview to the weekend, but depends what happens tonight. Might do one on Wednesday. We'll see what happens. We might be a little bit cheeky.
Triple helping of Sparks this week potentially.
Yeah, maybe. Obviously, if we can get the action of people that want to get involved, but early signs are people want to get involved. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah,
cracking stuff. We'll enjoy the game, and should we all go and get our black and white shirts out?
I'm not going to go that far, but
I don't have one anyway.
No, I won't be wearing red shirt either. I can guarantee you that. But yeah, we're not going to go that far. But yeah, I might put a barcode on the table. See what happens. But yeah, thanks for joining in, everybody. Thanks for the comments. If you are watching on record, if you got any comments in the put them in the comment section below, and we'll try and get to them at some point. We are looking for panelists as well. So if you're interested in that, then again, drop a comment in the comment section, and we'll try and get you involved. In the meantime, this is Footy Corner. I'm Sparks. We'll see you later. Have a good night.